Hi again. I wasn't planning on making another video so soon, but then I was talking to my son last night and he was talking about an article he'd read about a mayor of a city, and it reminded me of a story which I told him and he'd never heard before, and I thought it was a fairly commonly known thing in New Zealand, although I'm sure it's not known at all overseas, which is why I thought I'd share it here. And I may be wrong, there may be younger people in New Zealand who don't know about this either. So we're going to fertilise a couple of fields, but I thought I'd tell you this amusing story while I do it, just because those of you outside New Zealand won't know about it, and any younger people in New Zealand may not either. I'm not too certain, but so it's a story about a small country place in New Zealand called Whangamomona, and I'm going to put the spelling of it in the write up for this video, so if you want to Google it and find out a bit more about it and see pictures of what it looks like and things, you're most welcome to do so. Also, because to be perfectly honest, for anyone that doesn't understand the Kiwi sense of humour and the way that Kiwis do things, they might find this quite unbelievable. So by Googling it afterwards, you'll also be able to verify that what I'm actually telling you is the truth and it's not a made up story. But anyway, about the Kiwi sense of humour, first of all, there's a funny story about that too. Kiwis, we're quite happy to put ourselves down and things. In fact, one of the YouTubers that really got me interested in farming videos and things was a guy called Atomic 67, or Atomic 67G. His original name, for those of you that don't know him, was Eustace Farmer. And I was watching a farming video once, and I can't even remember who it was by, and I have my YouTube set so when one video finishes it just goes automatically onto the next video and starts the next video unless I press the stop button tell it not to. And so I was watching this farming video and it came to an end, and the next video that just happened to start was by this guy Eustace Farmer. But because I was sort of half listening to the video at the same time as I was doing some farming, I thought he said useless farmer, and that really appealed to me. You know, a guy describing himself as a useless farmer and then going on to do farming videos. That kind of, you know, it appeals to the Kiwi sense of humour, that sort of thing. So I sort of started paying more attention and ended up subscribing to him because his videos were so good. But it was actually his name, or what I thought his name was, Useless Farmer, that got me interested in his videos in the first instance. So that's kind of like what the Kiwi sense of humour can lean towards. So yeah, there's a place called Whangamomona, which I'm going to tell you about. It's a very small country town in the North Island of New Zealand, and to give you an idea of the size of it, its population varies between about 120 and 130 people. So it is very small. 130 people isn't very big. And it's basically, it consists of a pub which has a few hotel rooms upstairs which are empty 364 days of the year, and I'll explain the reason for that in a second, and a garage which also kind of serves as a dairy. And that's pretty much it. So it's basically just there to service the local townsfolk. Anyway, back in, what year would it have been? I'll just actually refer to my notes here for a second. Let me have a look here. Back in 1989, some regional boundaries were redrawn, which meant Whangamomona went from being part of the Taranaki region to part of the Manawatu-Wanganui region instead. Now, for those of you that are American, think of it like this. Think if some of the state lines were redrawn, so a small township of 130 odd people that was originally part of Nevada, instead, what's the, I'm just trying to think of the name of the other place I'm trying to think of now. Where are we? Oregon. So imagine if a small place that was part of Nevada, due to some boundaries being redrawn, suddenly became a part of Oregon instead, and that's basically what we're talking about here. And they weren't very happy, the residents of this place weren't very happy with this boundary redraw, so they decided to declare themselves a republic as a protest. Now, they weren't really honestly declaring themselves a republic, they were still part of New Zealand, but it was just kind of like a Kiwi way of doing this sort of thing. And it actually became so popular that it then became an annual event. So once a year, this place, Whangamomona, becomes a republic for a day. And they set up border crossings on the roads leading into the place, and as you arrive you have to pay a border entrance fee, and for your fee you get a passport and you get it stamped, and there's a whole bunch of stuff like that that happens on the day. And the reason it's sort of carried on as an annual event more than anything is it's a fundraising, a way of raising funds to keep the township alive, and it actually works very, very well as a fundraising event because people flock there for their Independence Day when they're an independent republic for a day. And as I said, there's no legal standing to this, so legally they're still part of New Zealand, but it's just all done tongue-in-cheek. Anyway, part of this becoming a republic for a day every year, although I believe it's now biannual, they changed it to biannual, it was annually, but part of it is that they elect presidents. Okay, so there's new presidents. Now the very first president that was ever elected, his name was Ian, and he had a funny surname that began with K, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. But he was, I could actually say he was elected by accident, in that he didn't even know his name had been added to the ballot. But he won the election, and he became the president, and so that was interesting. But then a couple of years later, the first animal to ever be elected president, which was a poodle dog, was elected president. And there's been numerous animals elected since then, because it all just depends on who gets voted in. And you know, people with interesting sense of humour, it's like that boat that got the organisation, I can't remember, was it Greenpeace? Oh, I can't remember who it was. I must have stopped back there, let's go back. No, it wasn't Greenpeace. Anyway, some organisation bought a boat and they decided to let the public name the boat, and someone put forward this stupid suggestion of what was it? Boaty McBoatface, and everyone decided, even though it was the whole suggestion was put forward as a joke, everyone voted for that and it actually got the most votes, and they had to backpedal quickly because they'd said that whatever got the most votes, that's what they call the boat, and they didn't want to call the boat that, so they had to do a bit of backpedaling. They ended up calling one of the life rafts on the boat that instead, to try and weasel their way out of it. So that's how this here happens. So if someone puts forward an animal for president, and that animal happens to get the most votes, then that animal becomes president of the republic. So this goat became became a president. I remember there was one year when a sheep was put forward to the ballot, but the sheep never turned up on the day for vote counting or anything, and there was a few rumours going around because at the time that on that day, that year, they served mutton sandwiches for lunch, so there was some rumours floating around as to what had happened to this sheep that was meant to be standing for president, and suggestions that it had become lunch instead. But the latest president is the one that I find one of the funniest, in fact, John Hurley. So he decided to stand for president, and he did a whole put forward a whole lot of ideas on what he was going to do if he was elected. Most people will just put forward their own name or an animal's name or whatever, and don't actually do any promotion to try and get the job, really, because it's all just in jest, of course. This guy John Hurley decided to actually promote his to try and become president, and it worked. And it was so hilariously funny because as I said, this Republican Day, when it becomes a republic for a day, is a huge money spinner for this otherwise very quiet, very small town of 130 people. So one of the things that John Herlihy did, which I just thought was absolutely brilliant, is he said that if he was elected president, he was going to approach the cruise ship companies about building a decent port there and becoming actually like a cruise ship hub, as it were. You know, a place where all the cruise ships would dock, and they'd get huge amounts of tourist dollars as a result. So I'm just backing up there because I think I might have, oh no, that was the edge. Get huge amount of tourist dollars from all these cruise ships docking. And this might sound like a fairly sensible suggestion at first, if you weren't aware of the fact that Whangamomona is miles and miles and miles from the nearest coastline, because it is in fact landlocked. So suggesting it as a cruise ship hub was rather amusing, but again, that's the way the Kiwi sense of humour rolls sometimes. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that story about Whangamomona, and as I said, I'll put the spelling of the place in the description of this video so that you'll be able to Google it and have a look at pictures of it and read about it for yourself, and you'll discover that indeed everything I've told you today is absolutely true, even though it might sound so crazy that it couldn't possibly be true. This is New Zealand, and in New Zealand crazy things can be true. Okay, thank you all very much. Bye.